two, one, and we are live for a new episode of the Electrek Podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintraub. How are you doing this week, Seth?
I'm good.
All right, I hope you're ready to jump in because we have a lot of news to discuss this week. We're going to start with this kind of little phenomenon the last few weeks that has been starting some conspiracy theories and whatnot. Like, there's been so many recalls with Tesla. And I say we calls. I mean, I say it with like quotes, maybe, because a lot of people have been not happy with the use of that word because all of this literally has been four recalls in I think 3 weeks, and they all have been fixed with over-the-air software updates. So
Yeah, they almost need a new term for that, like a over-the-air recall or something.
yeah, because I mean, the idea when it becomes a recall is because NHTSA consider it a safety risk, so it has to be an official recall notice that goes to the entire process to notify all the owners and whatnot, instead of just like this like sneaking and a little over-the-air update without even mentioning sometimes in the release notes. Um, the first one we're going to discuss, well, I mean, we discussed a few in the last weeks, but there was two new this week that people are like, oh, is NHTSA starting to like put some pressure on Tesla? There was the whole thing about the advisor that NHTSA hired that had negative comments about Tesla prior to being hired. So people are like, yeah, what's happening? Is NHTSA turning against Tesla, whatever? I'm not. I wouldn't go as far as saying that because if you actually look at the timelines, and that's what's great about getting an NHTSA recall is like they release a lot of details about it and they give you the entire timeline of what happened. And for most of them, there was a long timeline of discussion that came into it that explained the rationale behind the recall. So it's not everything happening in the last 2 weeks either. And the first one is actually one that's been around for a while is the heat pump problems. We talked about Tesla pushing the software update last week, but now it's been put in part of an actual recall. So this is, again, that's not conspiracy. This is a very real issue that a lot of owners have been experiencing, and we discussed before. But what was interesting is that so the reason why there wasn't an actual safety recall on this is because of makes sense too. It's the windshield defrost. The fact that if the heat pump would fail, you would have issue defrosting your windshield, and that's for anyone that had ever had that issue happen before. It is a real problem. I had on my old Tiburon, a Hyundai Tiburon. I had that happen before in the dead of winter, where your heating system just fails, and you just cannot defrost your windshield, and you're stuck. Like this is a real problem. You cannot drive if your windshield is not defrosting. So that's why there was a recall. But that what it gave us, though, because we already were aware of the issue, is that NHTSA went into more details of what's happening with this problem. So here's the actual explanation. In vehicle built with heat pump, the electronic expansion valve may experience controller communication interruption, after which the valve driver may attempt to realign the valve rotor by rotating it in a small increment towards the open direction. When heat pump vehicles deliver, so this is actually the interesting part here. It tells us what was the actual problem with it, which car are affected by that problem. That means it's the with the vehicles delivered with the firmware release 2021.44 through 2021.44.3.6 experience such interruption. The vehicle software does not close the valve, and the accumulation of interruption and subsequent realignment over extended period where the vehicle is awake may result in an unintended valve opening event. This in turn may trap refrigerant inside the evaporator and may deplete the refrigerant from the active component in the system. The depletion may result in a fail-safe compressor stoppage and cause loss of cabin heating, particularly in temperature of -C and colder. While the windshield defrost system continue to operate with the condition present, defrost performance may not fully comply with whatever regulation they have. So this is a much better explanation of what's happening. Now, the other concern people have is like some people are like, I have this issue with the heat pump failing, and I wasn't on that firmware update or vehicle delivered with that firmware update. Or some people are now complaining that they don't even have the heat pump and they have some problem with the Tesla heat failing in extreme cold. So this is still an ongoing issue that we're gonna follow. But at least Tesla has identified part of the problem and fixed it. There was also a recall in Canada from Transport Canada for the same issue this week. They said that it affected about 30,000 vehicles, I think, Model 3 and Model Y, 2021, 2022 Model 3s, which is the one with the heat pump, and also the new Model S and X, which also has the heat pump system. All right, the other one that's a little bit more questionable one recall this week that affected, like you saw all the headlines. Like you have to admit, like this is where the media goes a little bit nuts with that. Like recall on 500,000 Tesla vehicle this week. Boo! This is so bad. But this is
But did
the
the other stories have the closed caption of the car uh, and the
this
lead
is
image?
oh
I
yeah,
don't know.
I'm also a clickbaiter because I use a feature in merge where the car farts. I mean, I have to. This is the Boombox feature. NHTSA doesn't like it, or at least doesn't like it when the car is driving, and asked Tesla to recall it. So there was, and this is where things get a little bit more like technicalities, where it doesn't make that much sense because for those who are not aware of the Boombox feature, is that Tesla utilized the external speaker on its cars for the pedestrian warning sound, which is a regulation that electric vehicles or quiet vehicles need to have a pedestrian warning sound up to a certain speed. And Tesla implemented that, and it was a little bit controversial. People were like, "Yeah, I mean, even gasoline cars also are quiet at low speeds, so why are you making electric cars louder?" Blah blah blah. Which I understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, I've been to too many Tesla or electric vehicle events where I've almost been run over in the parking lot because I couldn't hear the car coming in my back. So I do understand where they're coming from, especially if you're someone that's blind or what's the other term? You're not completely blind, but you
I don't know.
see. Yeah, there's a term for the people that like, don't see very well. Let's just say. Um, so they implemented that feature, but Tesla was like, "All right, we'll take advantage of being forced to implement that feature and release a fun little uh, other feature on top of it, which they call Boombox, which allows you to play certain sounds directly through those speaker, like making your car talk or playing a song or whatever sounds you want to make. You just upload it on your USB drive and plug it into the car, and it can work." Now, so this is one of the other things that I thought like, oh, they just like, why are they recalling that now? That was in the car for over a year now because that was released in the 2020 holiday update. But the timeline here is the interesting part. They've been discussing it for a while now because it came out in December 2020. NHTSA right away asked for well, right away, a month later in January 21, they asked a request of information. Then in February of that year, Tesla responded, and over the next several months, there was a bunch of back and forth between the two. Tesla demonstrated the feature to them, showing, look, this is actually not like this is increasing the making the cars even more obvious because the pedestrian sound is working, and then on top of it, they put whatever else that also makes sounds. Which they actually NHTSA actually agreed. They said while Boombox can enhance the conspicuity of the vehicle to pedestrians, the problem is actually sounds like a technicality. A vehicle that uses Boombox when in motion may cause the pedestrian warning sound to be non-compliant with FMVV as the regulation. So, which he said could increase the risk of collision. So it's more. It sounds just like it. If you read the rules and the regulation, it's not compliant because in that actually achieving the goal of letting people know that the car is around, it's actually not bad. So anyway, the end result is Tesla is recalling the feature for when the car is in drive. So you can still use the Boomba feature if you're in park, but not if you're in drive or in reverse or whatever. If you're in
That's going to
motion.
be a big blow to rappers everywhere who, you know, they're trying to get their music out and
Yeah, it's always
rolling down the street.
a good way for that. Yeah. No, always weirds me out. Like people would do that. Like you play your own music in your own car, or like when
Right.
you see people like on their bike with a speaker, a Bluetooth speaker attached to them. It's like, yeah, have you ever heard of like headphones or like these?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the other recall this week. But again, a recall. This is an over-the-air software update. It's not that big of a deal. But it is technically called a safety recall. Um. Oh yeah, that was a very interesting one. Like so, for that the earnings this week, and they released the Q4 earnings. They had a pretty good quarter, but of course, no one cares about gasoline automaker having pretty good quarter these days. They want to focus on what's happening with their electric vehicle program because the race to deliver electric vehicles in high volume is the priority right now. And I thought that Jim Farley, the CEO, had a very interesting comments that just highlighted how far Tesla had come over the years. Because I mean, I'm sure you remember said just a few years ago, like you couldn't find anyone outside of like the core Tesla community or people that were following electric vehicles very closely that believed that Tesla would become a major automaker. Especially if you ask the competitors in the auto industry, most of them would tell you that yeah, I mean they're we've tested out. I mean, in case of Ford, they literally like broke them down and to understand it better and everything. So it's like they make great cars, but I mean they're not a manufacturer, they're not high volume manufacturer or anything like that. So we're not really worried about them and whatnot. But now Jim Farley said during the call when talking about achieving volume production of electric vehicle and Ford becoming a mass volume producer of EVs, he said this is in addition of our battery because you talked about sourcing batteries for you need batteries to achieve high volume. We are well on our way to achieve at least a 40% mix of BEVs by 2030 with strong margins and equal to a higher market in the key high profit high volume segment we compete. For example, the F-150 Lightning, if we had full production today to meet our current demand, we would rival the Model Y at Tesla as the leading BEV nameplate in the US market. So he's basically saying if we were capable of producing our main electric vehicle in high volume enough, demand is not the issue. We would be able to sell as many cars as Tesla is selling right now, which shows a clear shift. Okay, now it's not about because it used to be about people don't really want electric cars, demand for it, and Ford would it was amongst the many automakers that would willingly say that and use it as an excuse not to have a high volume vehicle program right now. And now it's the complete other way. It's we have plenty of demand, we just cannot produce them enough right now. A complete shift. And Tesla, he compares himself to Tesla. Tesla is the one who's actually producing more electric vehicles than anyone right now. And the almost, I mean, I'm not trashing Farley here. Like, I know what he's trying to say, obviously, but I'm saying like, so he's basically saying like, boasting about the fact that they have just as much demand as Tesla. It's just they cannot deliver on it, which is, I thought it's a very interesting comment.
And Farley can say that. So Farley's relatively new at Ford.
Mhm.
His predecessors should have been getting Ford ready for this transition, and they weren't. Farley came on, I don't know, a couple years ago,
Mhm.
and has pretty much moved to EVs. I mean, even the Mustang Mach-E started under Hackett, and then you know, there's Fields was before Hackett. Fields was kind
Mhm.
of lost on the whole thing. Although at Hertz he did end up getting that
Tesla
Tesla
deal.
program. But like Mary Barra can't say that because that would be saying,
No.
hey, we screwed up for like a
Mm.
decade when we should have been ramping up our electric vehicle production. She can't say that. So
But Mary Barra is responsible for electrifying the entire auto industry.
yes,
Joe
yes,
Biden told me that said. So how I'm not understanding your point.
you did it, Mary. You did
He
it.
did it. Yeah, that's a good point. But though you have Farley here still saying that the goal is to achieve a mix of 40% BEV by 2030, which I think is a terrible goal to have.
Yeah,
Like,
it it's impossible that they really believe that because the rate at which they need to change to electric means that there should not be ICE cars on
you
sale.
have an
And
interesting theory on that set. That I don't know if it's true, but it's an interesting theory.
well, I mean, they do need to sell cars like for the next 5 years or 4 years. They need to sell some ICE cars because they have to build them.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody wants to buy a car that's going to be, if they said, hey, we're going to be done selling ICE cars and by 2030, we're going to zero cars by 2030. Nobody's going to buy an ICE car when it's the last one out there,
Mm-hmm.
and so that might
So
be
they
the case,
rely on people still believing that at the very least
right?
to sell cars right now, even if it's not true.
And
Yeah,
and Hyundai said the same thing too, or
yeah.
Kia,
Well, yeah, they're all saying the same thing basically.
right?
There's not a lot of major automaker like Ford or Hyundai or anything like that have a goal more aggressive than 50% maybe by the end of the decade. But I think that by the end of the decade, it's going to be 100%, maybe not 100%, but like 99% of some people still going to want to buy some of those ICE car, but it's not going to be for reason that makes sense economically.
Right.
It's going to be purely for love of the smell of petrol or whatever. Yeah, so good luck on Ford if that's really the goal. If it's not, if your theory is not right, set, if that's really the goal, good luck selling that other 60% of vehicles in 2030.
I mean, what they're basically saying is right now, if they could, they
Hmm.
probably if they could make 40% of their cars electric today, they would probably sell out of those cars.
Yeah.
So they're saying there's basically nothing coming. Like there's no
Hmm.
improvement coming over the next 6 years or
Yeah.
whatever, 8 years. Yeah,
But
well,
they are making some moves to make it happen, and that was a good one this week. They poached away from Tesla a very important engineering executive at Tesla, Mr. Alan Clark, who most recently was the engineering director in charge of the new vehicle programs, and he's been a 10 year, over a decade veteran at Tesla. He started as a senior design engineer, and he was behind a lot of the important program at Tesla, including the Model X front and rear drive units, the mechanical design of the Model S battery pack, rear and front suspension of the Model S. It was behind the famous door handles of the original concept of the Model S. And more recently, as the head of the new vehicle programs, he was chief engineer of the new Roadster prototype. He was in charge of the vehicle architecture of the Model 3 and the Model Y, and Cybertruck prototype too. So, very important engineer at Tesla. And Ford hired him away as a new lead of advanced EV program. So good for Ford. He's going to be joining Doc Field, who's where you worked with him as when Doc Field was in charge of engineering at Tesla. Well, not he wasn't CTO, but he was like second highest ranking engineer at Tesla after JB Straubel. Of course, Doc Field was hired from Tesla from Apple, who hired him from Ford, and then after Tesla, he went back to Apple, and then he went back to Ford. So Doc Phil he goes around a little bit,
yeah.
but I'm sure he had probably a hand into poaching Alan Clark there. Look, I'm not too worried for Tesla about that. Like, definitely a loss for them. Sounds like a very um, what's the word? He, like he did a lot of work at Tesla. Like a very, I forget the word for it. Having a blank, but
Influential.
yeah, influential or like prodigious or what is that? There's a word for it that I'm blanking on. Anyway, he did a lot of good work at Tesla, obviously, and so it's sad to see him go. But Tesla, like they don't have any issue hiring good engineer. Like if you look at the list of like where people want to work, though of course we're gonna have a little story later on that, but it's at the different level, unfortunately. But engineering wants to work at Tesla and they go to work at Tesla, so it's not that big of a problem. So I think Clark might actually be more useful for the acceleration of EV adoption at Ford than he is at this point at Tesla. Might be wrong about that, but that's kind of my intuition. Should we talk about that right away while we're at it? Really?
Sure.
Like, this is the not fun story to talk about, not fun story to write about. I had to go through the entire lawsuit this morning, and was kind of sickening, to be honest. So Tesla, and also I don't like how Tesla handled the whole thing. That wasn't good of them. I think I don't know how they thought they would get away with that, but anyway. So Tesla earlier this week they posted their 10K, which is their annual filing with the SEC, in which they warned that they think that a lawsuit is coming from the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing, for short DFEH, and they said that they were going to sue them over allegations of racism at the company, but specifically at the Fremont factory. Then the next day, they released a blog post, which is kind of rare for Tesla these days, especially since they dissolved the PR department. Probably more written by I don't know, legal department or whatever, in which they warn again more clearly, more specifically about the lawsuit coming, and they characterize the lawsuit as being the headline of the blog post is the DFEH misguided lawsuit, and they warned about it that they were gonna sue them over some systemic racial allegation, I should say, of systemic racial discrimination and harassment. And but they really downplayed the whole thing. They said that the DFEH has been investigating Tesla for 3 years, a bunch of different cases, most of them between 2015 and 2019, and that they never found Tesla to be at fault in any of those cases, and that the cases was actually they, not mostly they said that it was all related um to how did they phrase that to be exact, alleged misconduct by production associate at Fremont factory. So they said it's like, and that's an argument that Tesla has used in previous lawsuit organization, is just black production associate like between each other using the N word and things like that. Like that's how they framing it. And then they say that the DFHS EH also didn't want to work with us on this. They were just right away they wanted to go to a lawsuit, which they think it was unfair, and that's it. Like they were like, this is coming, be careful. Like they basically putting the media, like trying to frame the situation as like this is an unfair lawsuit from a state government agency that doesn't appreciate Tesla. Like part of the blog post was like, we have 30,000 employees in California, and we are the last remaining automaker in California. I'm like, okay. Now this morning, the actual lawsuit was filed, and we got a copy of it. We posted Electrek for us. So this is a he said she said situation right now. Tesla has a problem with some of the allegation, but I mean, I read the whole thing, and if half of those allegations are true, this is a real problem, and Tesla completely downplayed the issue. It's way more serious than they made it sound. It's not. I mean, a bunch of employees calling each other the N word is not great either, but it's way more problematic than that. It's actual discrimination in terms of not promoting black employees. Uh, they did a thorough research of like the rate of promotions and how much black employees are at the production associate level versus they call it floor supervisor, lead supervisors, and managers, and so on and so forth. And there's a big discrepancy there. But then there was some of the example that was just awful of like some white production associate with Confederate flag tattoo that are visible on the employee floor, which I don't even know how that works in the first place. I think, but like if you can be allowed to have such or sweatsikas too, like just wild things that I I've never witnessed in any. I mean, obviously, like you say, "Oh, Fred, you're a journalist, you work from home or whatever." Like I've been on production floors before and whatnot, and I've never seen anything like it. And that those people are implementing some racist behavior, but then they also have plenty of example in there of supervisors, even managers, either tolerating those behaviors or participating themselves in those behaviors. And then there's so here's the thing: it's like you cannot stop. Like Tesla has 15,000 employees at the Fremont factory. It's basically a small town, or a big town, like a city, a small city. Really.
Yeah.
You cannot police this perfectly, but there's things that you can do to make it a lot easier to catch those people, to reprimand those people, and to build an environment that is safer for minorities. And they showed in that lawsuit, or at least the allegation of things that Tesla didn't do right, and like not cleaning up, like the bathrooms. There's been like a ton of complaints. They have, by the way, they have 50 complainants in that lawsuit. So it's 50 former, or I think some current too, Tesla employees that are part of that lawsuit. It's not just a handful of people, and they say that like they have the N word and a bunch of racist uh, effigies and comments written in the restrooms at the factories. And then even though they complain, Tesla don't clean it up, so they have to see that every day. And people refer to some of the section of the factories that are known to be more harder work, um, that are mostly black people doing the work there. And they refer to to it as like I don't even know what that means. Like porch monkey, like they say that this is the porch monkey area, and like it's just awful stuff that I don't. I honestly, at first I was reading this, I'm like, all right, this there's no way this is real. Like this, there cannot be like a modern work environment, especially like Tesla in
In
the Bay
California.
Area, no
Yeah.
less. And people look, but I know California is a kind of weird place. People see it as super liberal and everything, but in between Los Angeles and San Francisco, there's a lot of more like red state. Not that I'm not saying that the Republicans are necessarily like more racist or anything like that, but there is definitely some different cultures there in California, to say the least. I'm trying to be a little bit politically correct, Seth. I don't know if you can tell, but
We should stay out of politics, I believe.
yeah, yeah. But anyway, at first I couldn't like this is not real, but then you read the complaints, and I'm like, it looks like they have some serious evidence of it, and like a lot of witnesses and whatnot. I'm like, this if this is real, like Tesla has a massive issues on their hand, and yeah, I mean, I would like to see Elon like take this seriously, and if you want like all the nonsense he tweets on Twitter every now and again, like he would do good to actually like address this issue and like and honestly take down that post on their blog, because that post like it's even if the allegations are not right, like most of them are not true, which is not exactly what this is saying. They downplayed what the lawsuit was going to be about, because
Right.
this is serious stuff. Like if you have the heart for it, I encourage you to go read it. But I'm telling you, it's not fun to read.
It's pretty crazy. Like,
Mm.
I mean, the fact that this is the state coming at Tesla with this stuff. It's not
Mm.
like some random person that you don't know the credibility of. Uh, it's a little bit shocking.
Yeah. In the blog post, Tesla almost make it sound like this is California like coming bad at us for like moving to Texas or whatever. I'm like, yeah, like even if half of those allegations are true, you have a real problem. This is has nothing to do with retaliation or anything like that. Like if half of this is true, you have a problem to fix. Go fix it. I don't think
Yeah.
Tesla is racist as a company. I don't think Elon Musk is racist. I have no evidence of it whatsoever. So why would I make that allegation? But if this is happening and you're not addressing it in the most serious way possible, like I would address this as seriously like as time that he plays on engineering issues. Go deep into your HR department and do a cleanup if this is what's happening. Put the same intensity you put in engineering issue into this, because if this is not contained, this is not done, it's going to leak out into the rest of the and affect the culture. I mean, what's the woman's name? Valerie Workman, the head
Sounds
of
right.
HR, was a black woman who's
Hmm.
been like leading those allegations, like the culture of respect for minorities at Tesla, and especially for black people. And she left recently, so just before this thing coming.
Hmm.
Does that have anything to do with it? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know, but
I
timing
have a
is weird.
feeling it'll come up in court.
Yeah. Anyway, we're gonna keep an eye on this, but yeah, that really bummed me out this morning for sure. All right, the new Roadster. Oh, said, are we gonna get our Roadsters or not? Not after reporting this on Tesla. You cannot. They're not gonna give us a Roadster for reporting on the lawsuit. Like this,
The flying machine.
this argument that we get from Tesla fan. Like every time we report something negative on Tesla, you're not getting your Roadster now, Fred. What has to do with it? But yeah, the rare little update on the Roadster program from Franz von. Let me get his name right. Franz von Holzhausen,
Holzhausen, yeah.
Holzhausen. Friends, people, everyone call him friends. Anyway,
That's Franz is good.
yeah, Franz, this chief designer. He went on the Spike Car Radio podcast, and he discussed some of some updates at Tesla, mostly his own design experience and how he came to work at Tesla. It's if you're not familiar with Fran's work, it's a good primer on his work, which I mean, the guy is now one of the most, in my opinion, one of the most influential car designer in the industry right now,
for sure.
and and especially his work on the Model S. I mean, I think the Model S, I think, is still like a very uh, like up to date modern vehicle that still holds up on the design still holds up on the road, even though it's been around now for literally 10 years. Oh, it's gonna be 10 years in December, really.
And love it or hate it, the Cybertruck definitely
Hit a
is a
chord with some people. Yeah. A
yeah.
lot of
I mean,
people.
and it's like it's almost like a piece of art in a way that
Modern
regardless of
art, yeah.
very modern art, brutalist
Yeah.
something.
But yeah, so not a lot of it was new information. Like they talked a little bit about the yoke, but again, that was all the same point that Elon brought in before. Friends is also all over the yoke. But the Roadster, he did so with the Roadster thing. Like I used the meme that Michael did for us. You know what Elon said at the last earnings call, that the focus for product development this year was Optimus humanoid robot, and not the other vehicle programs that Tesla has been promising for years, including the Roadster, but also the Cybertruck and Tesla Semi, and the $25,000 unnamed model. That we're like, all right, what does that mean for the Roadster? Like the last time we heard is like it's coming in 2023, but now it's not so sure. So France kind of a little bit contradicted Elon, saying that they are feverishly working on the Roadster, that it's still in the work. He had an interesting comment where he said, we're working on the Roadster. I wish we were working faster, but I also wanted to say, and this is the interesting comment, in the time we have been developing it, we've also been learning a lot. Plaid is a great learning platform. All of those experience will make their way back into a much better Roadster than we had when we launched right after we launched, we debuted it. So, because the Roadster was supposed to be Tesla's first tri-motor vehicle platform, but then the Plaid happened with the Model S, and the Model S came to market with the tri-motor before the Roadster.
I mean,
So
it's obvious. It's probably obvious that Tesla said, "All right, we can make this much money with a Roadster and this much money with the Model S and X. Let's just make the Model S and X with the tri-motor."
and also the Model S and X kind of needed a refresh. So like at
Right.
the same time, like let's update the powertrain, and the powertrain was ready for it. So yeah, that's probably what happened. But yeah, this is. I mean, his point still stand though, with Tesla having now the Plaid for over a year. Well, it's gonna be a year, but by the time the Roadster comes, if it comes, it's gonna be over a year on the market. Like they're gonna have learned a lot from it, and they're gonna have the better version of it for the Roadster. On top of having the SpaceX, he's also mentioned the SpaceX package, saying that it's gonna be an exciting flying machine. So they've been hinting at that, like the vehicle will literally be able to fly or at least hover for a while. So it
NHTSA is
looks
going
like,
to love that.
yeah.
They should ramp up their hiring right now just for that
Mm,
unveil.
yeah. Yeah, it looks like they're sticking with this idea that's gonna like now at this point, if the car doesn't fly, people will actually be disappointed. Like if it comes out, they're
They've
like,
set expectations so high.
yes, very high, to say the least. It can literally fly. Uh, yeah, I mean, whatever. Like, even if it doesn't fly, if it doesn't have this basic package with the cold air thruster, it's gonna be an awesome vehicle, I think. Yes.
I kind of feel like the Roadster, they should go the other way and like pare it down, like smaller battery pack, not crazy speed, but just like a lot of people want a two. There's no real two
Mm,
seat electric car out right now. They could make a
convertible too.
yeah, they can make a a Mazda Miata ish version of the
Yeah.
Roadster. I think that would be pretty. I think that would actually sell
Yeah.
quite a bit. I don't know what the
Oh,
market is, but
or even not, you don't even have to go as down market as Miata. I wish there would be someone that does that, but I don't think Tesla is the one to do it. But if they make like a lower, much lower power version, actually focus on efficiency, put a decent sized battery pack on it, one, not even that need to go dual motor on that, because this is not like necessarily a car that people is going to use like in the winter or anything like that. But make like an 80,000 version of it, something like that, that people are not going to use for the performance necessarily, but that's a long range and looks amazing, and that's going to sell a lot too. Because I don't think Tesla is the one to make like a $40,000 two door convertible.
right.
Um, all right, we can put one thing to rest this week. Biden knows, or at least his teleprompter knows that Tesla exists, and he mentioned it too. So he had this speech this week about U.S. manufacturing and announced a bunch of factories that we reported on, the Tritium factory for chargers and a bunch of other new manufacturing effort in the U.S. And he snuck in electric vehicles in there. Mentioned Ford and GM, of course, because they are the best in when making electric vehicles. But then he finally mentioned Tesla too, saying, and I quote, since 2021, companies have announced investment totaling more than 200 billion in domestic manufacture here in America, from iconic companies like GM and Ford building out new electric vehicle production to Tesla, our nation's largest electric vehicle manufacturer. Woo!
Mm,
To innovative younger companies like Rivian, even Rivian gets a little mentioned in there, building electric trucks, or Proterra building electric buses, like a little mention for Proterra too,
yeah.
which I saw at a virtual tour last year when I met with the CEO virtually, and they really impressed me. So probably it's
They impressed
Proterra
Biden.
gets the best mention in there. Really,
Yeah.
good for them. Now Proterra is doing good things. Like they're doing electric buses, like you mentioned, but also like now they're becoming kind of a battery pack electric powertrain
Yep.
supplier for a lot of companies, from trucks to also like construction equipment and a bunch of things like that. So, no, this is important. But anyway, the Tesla fans and the Elon fans and Elon himself have been like hammering on Biden and the Biden administration for weeks now, saying that you need to mention it. Like, and we did report on it. Like, it was a dumb thing not to mention Tesla and those things, because obviously Tesla, without Tesla, the U.S. EV market is nothing. Like, it's already not that much. I
Right.
think 4% last year compared to Europe, it's like 16, and a bunch of other markets, but still, like, without Tesla, it's nothing. So yeah, you have to mention also it's an American automaker that is having a world impact like no other. So yeah, it was ridiculous, but but what I didn't like from the Tesla side of it is like, it's like, is that really the most important thing right now? Like, we know why they're not mentioning Elon. Elon literally campaigned against, well, I mean, campaign is a big word, but asked to drop the Build Back Better Act, which was of the big legislation for the Biden administration. And this is politics. Like, you do this, we're gonna do that. Like, it's obvious. But at least now, I hope this puts it to rest. And also, it's not like the mention. I don't really care about the mention. What I would want is like, make the new EV incentive fair for Tesla. That would be better.
Right.
Uh, did you see the new controversy this week too?
About
Uh,
Chatamo or CCS combo or
oh yeah, well, we're gonna get into that, but before that, GM apparently hired Biden's niece
oh.
this week.
Okay.
So maybe
That was a
maybe
mistake.
she was the one who told Biden about Barry Barra being
Oh, that's
super revolutionary in the EV
that's
world.
not gonna go over well.
Yep, it won't. It certainly won't. All right. Um, I'm gonna mention this one real quick. It's not that big of a story, but it literally was our biggest story this week. Like 500,000 people read that post. So I guess I'm mentioning it if it's that popular. People really want to know about it. But Tesla opened a brand new supercharger station in California. Let me. I wasn't familiar with the. It's Hoakhurst, California. So they opened this brand new station. How many stalls? Like
38.
8 stalls supercharger station, and so some local Tesla owners finds out in the map system that, hey, it's open, though it was saying temporarily closed. So why would Tesla add a brand new station and say temporarily closed? They show up there, and what they find is that every one of those uh, cables have been cut clean off the stalls on the brand new supercharged station.
And those are V3 cables.
Yeah, those are brand new V3 cable with the liquid cooling and everything. And
You can see the pipe in there.
yeah, so some people saying it might be vandalism, but it looks like that clean of an operation real quick like that on a brand new station. I think it's more like thieves that wanted all the copper in that, because there's probably maybe at least a few $100 per cable, maybe as much as that they want to clean. So this might be an actual issue that Tesla and every uh, charging station operator is going to have to account when the in term of keeping, because the goal that when you operate a charging network, you want to keep your online time as good as possible. You have to always be online, everything like that. So you have to take account anything as far as vandalism and theft in that, to keep that down so that your online time is up. And if this, and we know that California specifically has had a lot of problem with theft lately because of changes in the laws, and also just the economy and whatnot. So have you seen the train that they're getting attacked in Los Angeles? Have you seen that?
The train?
Yeah, there's a big issue with the trains. Get like gangs of thieves just attack cargo trains and just like steal everything on it.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
it's
like the
wild.
Wild West.
Yeah, yeah, you should check it out. Like the pictures are crazy, where you see like just open boxes of products like all over the train tracks, because they just get in and just open everything up, like
Wow.
dozens of people at a time. But I think there's a change in the laws where like it has to be like a certain amount that you steal now to be actually a criminal offense and not a misdemeanor. So they up that up to like $1,000 or something. So it like clearly encourage people to steal more. But so things like that might be also play into account. I'm not so sure, but I've just heard today that another station in Fresno just had the same issue again. So like this is actually something that they have to have some security cameras, some actual like attendants. I don't know, but they're gonna have to do something to prevent that.
Yeah, I mean the cameras could be something. They could also have like alarms. I don't know if that would work. If you cut a cable, there's an alarm.
Hmm.
There was one. I can't
A
remember
good
if
sign that says "live cable danger." Maybe
right.
these people cannot read, though. I don't know, but live danger. That would prevent me from messing up with a cable like that.
Yeah, I mean, one theory we had is like maybe Tesla turned this on too soon before they got the approval, and the local electric company came by and just turned them off, so to speak.
Well, that's pretty harsh.
That should be pretty harsh,
Yeah, because all of them were cut up like that. Like it
right?
was like clearly like, act off. Yeah, it's
Yeah, and the
pretty wild.
electric company could just turn off the power to the area.
Hmm. All right, let's talk about Nikola Motors this week. We had an exclusive story on it that destroyed my Twitter feed, because there's a lot of Nikola bag holders out there that are not happy when you say anything bad about the company, which is hard to do. I had to really dig deep to find something bad about that company. Like I really set out to do that. No, what happened is like this is something that I thought was interesting because of the transition that the company is in. Nikola, obviously, like don't have to rehash it too much, but was in deep trouble for a while because its founder Trevor Milton lied a lot about the company and its core technology and its capabilities and where they were at. So what the hell? I just realized that I feed there's a ton of cash in the back of the truck on my picture. Is that cash? Did we do that?
I think that's from an old. Yes, that's probably from an old uh, thing, like the story. If you pulled that from our media library,
Yeah, I did. I did. I did. I just saw the Nikola truck. I was like, I didn't see the cash in the back. I think, but that might be Scooter doing something like that. I don't know. Yeah. So while all of that was happening, and they got caught lying, and Trevor got charged at criminal level, and Nikola owes $125 million to ACC and all that, the company was was pretty much a scam. I would say, and they started to transition into a legitimate company, which is fair. I'm not saying like the company shouldn't exist because the CEO like implemented a bad culture of lying and overstating the capacity of their technology and their prototypes and their orders and whatnot. But that in the midst of that transition, with all the controversy, there was kind of what got lost in like what the company was doing anymore. And what I saw personally, what of other analysts saw, is that the company transitioned since there was so much lie about the core technology that they were developing in terms of the battery packs, the fuel cells. If you remember, like they were talking about having a breakthrough in battery technology, like a new battery and the most advanced fuel cells and the capacity to produce hydrogen at a very low price, and all of that were lies. So they had to transition for that, and they transitioned to a very supply based approach where they partner with Bosch. Well, Bosch was already a partner before, but to a different degree that it is now. Now it's literally like they are buying the whole fuel cell technology from Bosch. They were going to do it with GM with the Hydrotech, but I think GM got backed away a little bit from the deal with the Badger and everything that came out. That's kind of giving them cold feet. But the partner with Bosch, they partner with Iveco, that big trucking company, for the manufacturing of the trucks. Partner with Portera for the battery packs. So they moved away all the core technology to uh, partner to supply chain. So that's why I thought was relevant when I learned earlier this week from multiple sources that the whole supply chain leadership basically has left over the last 4 months. Uh, one of them in October, two of them in December, and one of them last month. Within 4 months, like the four highest level leaders in the company just left. And then they were replaced internally by two manager level people that were promoted to director, and then a complete freeze on hiring. Like no one else has been hired since, uh, though Nikola had a response to that. So I said that the situation looks dire. Why I said that looks dire, because like the supply chain is critical for, well, it's critical in every company to be honest, but for them even more so because the entire products is there's no vertical integration whatsoever. It's all other companies that's supplying the technology, and it looks dire because they need things to work quick. Because if you look at the financials at Nikola, they lose about $250 million a quarter, and as of last quarter, they had $500 million in the bank. So that's literally a run rate for 2 quarters. So they're gonna have to turn things around very fast, otherwise they're gonna run out of money. So yes, it is pretty dire. Now Nicola sent us very interesting statement about a report. First of all, there was some confusion. They claimed that, oh, I reached out to them like minutes before posting anything like that, which wasn't accurate at all. So they said that the Nikola's supply chain department is intact, and Nikola continues to hire. The supply chain department has been intentionally strengthened with new and existing leadership. Nikola is focusing its effort on getting its first BEV and FCEV to market and continue to hire strategically for critical roles. We have nearly 1,000 employees now, including 220 that within the last 20 days. Nicola encouraged you to listen to the earnings call on February 24th to get an accurate overview of the company and its progress. Yes, because Nicola is a trustworthy company too that you must listen to. Look, it's fair. You want to listen to their call, listen to their call, but I had some issue with that statement, because intact, like how is it intact? You literally lost your whole leadership over the last 4 months, so that's intact is a lie. Um, Actually, straighten with new and existing leadership. I talked to Nicola, and when I asked them, point me to a single new hire in supply chain department, and they could not. They could not point me to a single new one. They said that they couldn't. They only reiterated that they promoted from within, which we already reported. So do what you want with that information. But what I was shocked with is, like, I had my issue with the Tesla shorts. I have my issue with the Tesla investors. After that report, the kind of hate that I got from the Nikola shareholders was to a brand new level I've ever seen. Some people signed me up to a BDSM website with my public work email like an hour after posting the article. Like, I mean, I cannot prove that it's someone that related to Nicola, but the timing of it was like kind of obvious. I had a bunch of people send. I have people like calling me at weird hours. I had a ton of Twitter people that, like, that's not new, but both like accounts, like at least with the Tesla investors, it looks like it might be real people, even though like they always, like, if they're gonna insult you online, they do it anonymously and whatnot, which is, I think, a coward way to do it. But with the Nikola folks, it was a bunch of like recently created account with like 0 followers and a ton of them. They look like boats to me. Boats, butts.
Bots.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, and also the argument was were kind of terrible. Um, all just repeating the Nikola statement as if it's the gospel, even though company has an history of lying. But okay. Um, so anyway, I mean, I don't wish Nikola to fail. Like if they can actually turn themselves into legitimate companies that deliver, especially the BEVs. I mean, I'm not completely against fuel cell vehicles at the truck level or the semi truck levels, but I mean, if you look at the history of Nikola itself, they started out talking about bringing to market natural gas trucks. Then they pivoted into fuel cell hydrogen trucks. Then they pivoted into fuel cells and battery trucks combined on top of pure battery electric vehicles. So if you don't see a clear transition towards battery electric vehicles here, you're kind of fooling yourself. Like this, what happened is that during the 10 whatever years that Nikola has been around, the batteries have improved a lot, and it started to make a lot more sense that battery electric vehicles are likely going to be a better solution long term than fuel cell hydrogens, just because of like where the hydrogen is coming from right now. Not that you cannot make clean hydrogen, it's just that it's hard to make, it's expensive to make right now, and to deploy the entire infrastructure network, which is just a lot more difficult to do than it is with battery electric vehicles, which there is an infrastructure program there too, but it's a lot easier to solve if you already have a giant electric utility, mm, just giant industry out there. You just need to build a little bit on top of that. Well, not a little bit, a lot on top of that. But the hydrogen market, you have to from the ground up, like from the supply level all the way to the distribution and in between. Like, good luck. Do you want to get into it, Seth, or are you just it's
I
not
don't
worth
know.
it? Not worth getting the.
I don't know. Like Nikola's still worth $3 billion somehow. I don't like.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I don't understand it. They don't have any technology. Like they have a powerful that GM board member guy that kind of
Mhm.
was pulling the strings. They've got some deals lined up, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem like they have anything that like Freightliner is going to be able
Mhm.
to like replicate in a heartbeat and
Mhm.
100 times faster and better. So I don't know. Like as a $3 billion company, like obviously I don't wish them to fail, but like
Mhm.
I don't know how they differentiate themselves. And they also carry around the baggage that their founder and like the person who named them and
Mhm.
ran the company is kind of, it seems like a scam
Mhm.
artist. So
Mhm.
like maybe it's best to shut it down and rename it or whatever.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I saw both sides of that argument. Some people were like they have nothing but their brand. Like they don't have any car technology, so the brand
Right.
is everything. So like like that's all they have. And then I had the other argument where like yeah, their brand is tarnished forever, so you should rebrand it. But then that's all they have, so
Right.
you start back to zero. And obviously, I say zero. Like they have 1,000 employees there. I'm sure a lot of them are very competent and they're doing great things and doing great work. So I don't want to discredit their work. I'm just saying, as a whole, right now, over the decade-long existence of the company, they have not much to show for uh, to counter all the bad.
Yeah.
Because right now, you have to take into account there's a few people that took a lot of money out of that company to
Right.
for malicious, what looks like malicious reasons,
Right.
in my
And
opinion,
then, and
allegedly,
then,
whatever. Don't sue me.
GM bought into Nikola as well, which
Yeah.
is like I don't know how like Mari Barra is a survivor. Like with all the things that have happened on her watch, like she was basically gifted the Bolt. She started the Bolt program that had already begun. She got the
Hmm.
Bolt, and then and it's not just her. There's plenty of other people. It's
Hmm.
not a sexist thing or whatever. It's just amazing to me
Hmm.
that with what GM had and where they are now, it's just like wow. I can't imagine somebody who's made so many bad decisions still in power. It's crazy.
Well, somehow, like that's the perspective for someone following the industry closely, but from the perspective of the president of the United States, she is responsible for the entire
Right.
electrification of the industry. So, like, it's perspective things.
Right.
Is your opinion more important than the president of the United States? I would argue that when it comes to electric cars, it certainly is, but
I don't
apparently
know.
not.
I don't. I mean, it just to me, it's like I look at it and I just don't understand it. Those are the
Mm,
things that
baffles you.
I'm most curious about is like
Mm,
what I can't understand. And if I'm a GM board member and or like a stockholder, and I'm not, I would be like, what the heck? We had the Chevy Bolt in 2017, 2016, and we are further back now than we were then. And you know, like what happened?
mm,
Like what happened behind the scenes was the product development
mm,
so bad? Was something defunded? Um, and theoretically they're going to get back. The Cadillac Lyrics coming out soon. Um, obviously they're going to start making more Hummers. There's more Hummers in the back of the Biden thing than that were sold last year. Um, so I don't know. Like to me, it just like such a massive failure. Like we're all on the same page that EVs are the future, and basically since 2016, 2017, which is like 5 years,
mm.
GM has done nothing. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And when I say nothing, I'm not talking about press releases and future,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
I'm
Bolt
talking about
UV, which is basically the same
cars
car.
on the
Yeah.
ground with tires that go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and what also bothers me is like you could sit down with Mary Vera and ask her that, like, why, what took so long, what took so long, and you wouldn't get a real answer.
right.
You get a political answer, like, well, you see, actually, the consumer market wasn't really ready, and we were working in the background to with the Ultium battery system to deliver that because we think it's a bigger product from the 5 years. It
Right.
shouldn't take you 5 years to bring a new car to market, just to bring a second electric vehicle to market.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And then also she backed the Trump administration. So that should
yes.
tell you enough right there.
Yeah, yeah. You see what happened in those 5 years is the Trump administration and the political landscape change, and they didn't see the need to do it. It's sad. All right, we have one more news item to discuss, and then we're gonna jump into the comment section. So if you guys have any questions for us, you can put them in the comments right now. If you can put the question in all cap first, or the whole thing in all cap, so that we can identify them better in the comment section. Do it right now. Either a question or a subject you want us to discuss. We're going to do it just in a few minutes after discussing the Biden administration's new $5 billion plan for a nationwide EV charging network over the next 5 years. So I didn't get into it too much. I'm going to learn about it at the same time as you. But what I hear is like it's a plan to make sure that every 50 miles on major highways you have a charging station in the U.S.
Yep. And some interesting things about it. It's focused on CCS combo. So Chatamo, that
Dead.
doesn't count. Tesla chargers doesn't count.
Mhm.
So it'll be interesting to see what Tesla does. Are they going to build
Mhm.
CCS combo, or are they going to build more Tesla chargers and make adapters, or what are they going to do? So that's kind of interesting.
But they kind
Um,
of already announced anyway who's gonna build those charger, right? Because they said Siemens gonna produce 1 million EV chargers as part of the plan. Like they already partnered with Siemens with ABB
mhm,
and a company I don't know, Dunamis Clean Energy Partners, a black and woman-owned EV charging manufacturer based in Detroit. Okay, that's for level 2 EV chargers. Okay,
right.
because I think the plan was more focused on the highway. Well, they mentioned tritium, but that was part of the announcement too. That tritium is coming to the U.S. and they are going to build a big manufacturing facility in Tennessee to produce a lot of charging station. I mean, this is a big business. Charging industry is going to become a big business, and the government wants to accelerate it. That's good news.
Yeah, and that's the key word. I think accelerate it. Like the
Mm,
government isn't buying or running the
mhm,
charging infrastructure. Thank God, because like New York's got this program where they have They're rolling out chargers called Evolve, and I don't want to say it's a blank show, but like it's not reliable. I think when MKBHD drove around in his test, he tried a couple of those stations and they didn't work, and it's really frustrating because like they shouldn't. This part of the government shouldn't be running charging stations. What they should do is incentivize, Electrify America, EVgo, uh, Shell, like all the other ones. By the way, on the Kia EV6 drive, I saw my first Shell DC fast charger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, incentivize them, make, take away taxes for 10 years or do what government, whatever government incentives they do. But like, they should not be running the charging stations. So anyway, it's definitely good. People have brought up like, well, a few chargers every 50 miles isn't going to help. Like that's not enough if the whole world's changing to EVs. But that's just a start. Like theoretically, more will come online as demand creeps
Mm-hmm.
up. So
Yeah, the requirement was also like 4 stalls per station, which I think is also on the lower side. Like I think that's one of the reasons Tesla has been so successful is like
yeah,
they don't worry about the use rate being too low for something like that. And they're like, all right, worry for like when people really need the station, how many charger you need. And of course, that as a business model, if you're just an operator of charging stations, it's not a great business model because you have a lot of big capital investment for a little use rate. But long term, you have to have that.
yeah, and you know what? I have to say, Tesla has made a lot of really good decisions early on, like building the battery factory. Obviously, huge decision that now Ford and GM and everybody else are doing.
Mm.
Um, and the early supercharger rollout was a really good decision, and it's still paying off. Like if you're deciding between a Mustang Mach-E and a Model Y, one of the biggest decisions is like, are you going to be able to go on a road trip? And you know, we love them at Electrify America, but they're not the most reliable things. And EVgo is not,
Mm.
they score worse on plug share. So,
Mm.
you know, you you can get stranded with the way charging systems are, and Teslas are worlds better. So I don't know. It's you talk to the CEOs of these companies, like we got a chance to talk to
Mm.
Ford CEO Jim Farley, and you're like, are you building chargers? Like, what are you doing about charging? And he's like, yeah, Electrify America, whatever.
Mm.
I'm like, no, you gotta do it. Like it's your responsibility. Like,
Yeah.
so
It's such a big part of the ownership experience. So to give that up,
yeah,
I think it's a problem that's going to fix itself
eventually,
over time for sure. Like it's not a make or break issue is because of like Tesla setting up the standard with it. I think that helps. Like you see, like it can work. Not that Tesla doesn't have any issue with the supercharger network beyond just getting their charging cable getting cut off, but it's going to fix itself over time. It's just that you're taking a risk if you're offloading the whole experience to a third party, like in creating more friction for your customers. You might lose some along the way. Like that's just the truth. Which we can get into the question. I think the first one was actually about that. What would make people prefer Ford or GM over Tesla, in your opinion? By Mr. Necromancer. Oh, maybe a fan of Raised by Wolves. I don't know. Um, I hope so because otherwise that would be scarier. It's yeah, that would be the main reason. Like Seth said, that would be the supercharger network. That would be your charging experience because
but he's asking what would make people choose Ford or GM over Tesla.
oh well, okay, yeah, specifically.
So I mean,
Mm.
co- when I'm thinking about these things, I would say fit and finish on a Ford is going to be better than a Tesla, just generally speaking. Maybe not for all things. CarPlay, Android Auto, inside. Maybe you like buttons and not screen stuff. If you want the windshield wipers to turn on, you don't want to have to do stuff. Um, you know, Comfort inside. I think the seats are a little bit more comfortable in the Mustang Mach. This is just an example. Ford and GM, I guess, when the Lear comes out and the you talk about the Chevy Bolt, it's a much smaller car. Like if you want a car form factor like the Bolt, so there's a lot of things that still like Tesla has one basic car, the Model 3/Y. So you want a bigger car, you want a smaller car, you want all these other things. Maybe Ford, GM make more sense.
Yeah, and especially like I think it doesn't even matter right now. Like if you choose it between a Mach-E and a Model Y, it's not a big difference. For US EV adoption, it's gonna be the pickup trucks that are gonna make it the bigger difference right now. Which I mean, those three automakers, Ford, GM, and Tesla, all plan electric pickup trucks in the near future. Uh, I think the regions are obvious. Like I think it's gonna be for electric pickup trucks transition. If you're already a pickup truck owner, I think it's gonna be an easier transition to go to a Ford and GM to the Cybertruck.
Yeah,
to say the least. So that's something they can count, but that's kind of superficial a little bit.
yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like the capabilities on all those trucks should be pretty similar. Tesla should have a better software experience on them. Like you said, fit and finish on the others might be better. But then the Cybertruck, the fit and finish of Cybertruck should be pretty good because it's an exoskeleton. So
Right.
like you don't have to line in the panels. Like the panels are the body of the car. So yeah, that's gonna be fun, man. I can't wait for the pickup trucks to come and to see some actual numbers in the US for EV adoption. That's gonna be exciting.
By the way, has your Rivian order been updated at all?
I haven't checked in a while. I haven't got any emails about it, but
Hmm.
no, I haven't checked in a little while. But at this point, I mean, probably could get a Ford 150 5-star. I think. I just
Yeah, Ford seems to be hinting that they're willing to move you around in line if you're willing to
pay
do
more.
some. Well, yeah, the dealers are.
Yeah. I mean, I have $1,200 in deposit for a pickup truck order right now. So
You got
I'm not willing to put more than that in the deposit itself. I'm not willing to pay for the truck, obviously.
so wait, you have
But
$100 for Cybertruck,
$200 for Cybertruck.
Oh, you have two
Yeah,
Cybertrucks?
yeah.
Only
Because at
two?
the time, well, I probably should get reimbursed for one of those because at the time I put one because I wasn't sure like which one's gonna come first and everything. So I put one for the tri motor, one for the dual motor, which made sense at the time. Now we don't know what is gonna be what with the Cybertruck. So
Yeah, there's probably not even going to be a single
yeah.
motor one.
So again, the reserving a Tesla ahead of time is not really worth it these days.
Right. And speaking of not being worth it, my Rivian R1S is now scheduled for 2023, which is a
Yeah.
bummer because I was really hoping to get it this summer. When I made the reservation, the people Rivian employees were like, "Yeah, summer next year if you order
Mhm.
it like right now," and that didn't happen. So that's a
Yeah.
bummer.
We I think a week or two. A week or two is going to be the Rivian earnings calls, and I think we can expect like a production update on that, like how production is going. But like I said, we were expecting that it's going to be a rough production ramp,
Yeah.
a few tough quarters for Rivian before things start to ramp up.
Yep.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for the episode this week. Thanks everyone for watching. If you're watching right now, please give us a quick thumbs up. It's free to do and it helps the show a lot. If you're listening on your podcast app, you can give us a 5-star review if you do enjoy the show. Only if you do, obviously. That helps the show tremendously too, brings it to more people on the podcast ranking. So if you can do that and leave us a quick review, we read them all. We appreciate them too. And that's pretty much it. We're going to see you at same time, same place next week. Have a safe week and have fun. Bye-bye.